Give you an opportunity to talk to Wendy Davis if you had any questions about what she's doing here, what she's doing in her career currently. We also have Iris Harvey, who's the CEO of Planned Parenthood, who's been the primary sponsor of the events that we've had throughout the state in the last couple of days. And
Nicole Evans, I'm a Planned Parenthood, also the Marketing and Communications Director.
And you know Mike, of course, so if anybody else comes in, we'll just bring them in as they come, but I just wanted to give you guys an opportunity before we started the event.
Just wants to jump in? Sure. Wendy, could you give us an idea, as you've been traveling, how similar what you're seeing in other states like Ohio is to what you were facing in Texas in 2013?
We've had obviously similar dynamics going on in Ohio and Texas. I've talked a little bit about it as I've given my remarks in the last couple of days. We each had two governors who decided they wanted to be president. And the unfortunate part of what comes along with that is that those governors begin to try to build a resume that they believe is going to be helpful to them on the national stage. Sadly, the state of affairs in America today is that that resume building tends to include an assault on women's reproductive freedoms. Both in Texas and in Ohio, the volume really got turned up on those issues as a consequence of individuals who were seeking another job. And in the wake of that is a human fallout that is in some instances tragic. So I'm really proud and pleased to be a part of helping in a state like Ohio to make sure that we rebalance the voices that are in place in the state legislature here, and to try to turn the tide and get back to a conversation about how we help people, not hurt them.
What is the status of the Texas law? I know that there were court challenges.
Yeah, so the Supreme Court heard the whole women's health case about, 6 weeks or so ago. We expect that decision in June. Obviously, we're in a bit of a unique place with the court because we have the potential of a 4-4 split. A lot of eyes are on Justice Kennedy and what he might do. He obviously has joined with the 4 progressive justices on marriage equality, and we are hopeful that the way this case was framed, and there was a tremendous amount of work to do this, in articulating it through the stories of real women and the consequences of laws like this one, will be compelling to Justice Kennedy, and that he'll come down on our side. The worst that might happen is that the court splits 4-4. If they do, the law will stand in Texas, and it will be devastating for us because it will close many of our remaining clinics. Already over half of them have closed. But the good news in that is that it won't become the law of the land. And I know that Planned Parenthood, the Center for Reproductive Rights, NARAL will continue to look for cases to take before the Supreme Court. Certainly speaks to the importance of who we elect in the presidential election, because the filling of that vacancy is going to really dictate the outcome of a future case to come before them, no question.
Iris, do you know what the status is of Ohio's case?
Well, which case?
Wasn't there a case that was brought in Cleveland against
Yes, the defunding, yes. We are...
No, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the surgical center restrictions. I think that there was a challenge brought in Cleveland against that a couple of years ago.
I can't speak to that right now, but I can follow up with you.
Okay, great.
Where do things stand with the newer suit that was just filed a few weeks ago?
We have filed suit, and we are seeking a temporary restraining order, and we expect to have some feedback from the judge in the next day or two.
So how do you go about, we talk about rebalancing the legislature in a state like Ohio, how do you go about facilitating that or accomplishing that?
One door knock at a time. And through good candidates, their willingness to run in a place that can be hard, and through the work of people like Senator Schiavone, the Senate Democratic Caucus, the Ohio Democratic Party, that is doing an enormous amount of work of trying to recruit good people to run and to move these issues into the consciousness of the voters in the state. I think that even if we run races where we may not succeed, there's tremendous value in moving these issues forward in the public conversation. And that's what these races are about. The hope, obviously, is that you succeed in some of them. And where you do, you put people into office where they're going to be an added voice on these issues and continue to help raise that awareness across the state. A lot of times people get locked up in the ideologies of issues at a really high level, and they lose sight of the fact that they have very real consequences to real people, and they impact all of us in profound ways that we may not be present to. And so these races really help to elevate that. And I'm thrilled to be here helping to cast that message and to be a part of supporting the good folks who've decided to run.
Do you think having Trump on the ticket is going to help Democrats in Ohio in November?
I'm hopeful that it's going to give us an opportunity to really bring these issues forward in a way that we can confront the reality of what's happening as a consequence of them. It looks as though the general election contest will be between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And I am so optimistic about our opportunity through her lens, through her experience, and through her many years of fighting on behalf of issues that are important to women, to really elevate an understanding in the United States about exactly what's at stake here and why it is so important that we elect someone who holds these values to represent us in the White House.
Has this current scenario of Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton made it easier for you and for you as well to recruit women candidates?
I think it certainly has raised an awareness in women around this country of the importance of making sure that we have candidates in office who understand the challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis. We are 5 years away from celebrating the 100-year anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote. And yet, we continue to be some of the most oppressed in American society in terms of the things that will help move us forward to be a successful part of the economy in this country. I have not been shy about the fact that I'm supporting Hillary Clinton. And for me, one of the most important reasons is that candidates who have walked this walk, who understand the unique challenges of what it means to be female in America, are the best situated to bring those issues forward through a place of real passion. We've had allies, we've had votes. I certainly had allies and votes for a lot of the issues that I advanced in Texas that benefited women. But it takes a person who brings these issues forward as part of their core experiences to really move them in a powerful way. And what I see in the candidates that I've had the pleasure of meeting here in Ohio is that this is part of their core platform, and that they'll be adding voices to this conversation that can, I think, really lift it in a way that it's not necessarily been before.
And I think that, you know, our recruitment was already in the works, you know, when all this Trump stuff started. So I don't know if it helped recruit, but it definitely helped fuel our candidates, our female candidates specifically, when, you know, Trump's standing up there saying, oh, Hillary's playing the woman card, and you just won't really explain what that is. I mean, it's disrespectful in so many ways to women all across the country. And so I think that when our candidates hear things like that, it gives them that extra push that, you know, when things get a little rough, it helps them. continue to keep that fuel in the tank.
Are you confident where Trump stands on abortion?
You know, where he stands on abortion, and he will stand there, is where the Republican Party wants him to be. He's made that clear, that he is going to actively work to defund Planned Parenthood, and he's made it clear that he is hostile to women's access to abortion, to the extent, of course, that he's even talked about the fact that they ought to be punished for it. And he's exposed a real problem within the Republican perspective on abortion. Of course, the inflammatory language refers to it as murder. The consequence of that belief would necessarily entail punishment, right? And they got caught in the middle of their disconnect on that when he came forward in a very honest way and said, well, sure, women ought to be punished. That's what this is all about. And when you do talk about it in the terms, the highly charged terms that a lot of Republicans do, then it really does expose, I think, what's at stake here and where we're headed. And where we're headed literally in some ways can be worse than where we've ever been. We know there was a time when women did not have safe legal access to abortion. We might potentially be headed to a place where not only do we lose that access, but women who seek to receive that health care find themselves criminally liable for doing so. That's a very dangerous place to be, and it's not the America I know. It sounds like an entirely different country.